Under listening post tonight, we have the Veteran Spotlight, and we have Mike Johns, and Trustee Gazer will handle that.
Thank you very much. We've been doing it all year long. We've been getting community members to come join us to tell us about their time in the service. And we're very honored today to have Mike Johns. Mike, a longtime resident in the village. He was one of the founding members, maybe the founder, we'll find out for sure, of the local VFW chapter, which has been so active in many different things, including the Veterans Memorial here in town. He served in the Air Force during the Vietnam era, and I'm very proud to welcome Mr. Johns to tell us about his time in the service. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. Before I start, I would like to acknowledge the board, the mayor, the park district, very supportive of the veterans and their movement, and it doesn't go unnoticed, believe me. Well, I graduated high school in 1969. 8 of my chum mates in school were killed in action in Vietnam. My veterans journey started in 1967. I joined the Air Force. 3 reasons I joined the Air Force. One, the draft was on. I would have got drafted. The Air Force didn't draft. The other one is my father was a World War II Air Force veteran on B-24s. And the last one sounds a little corny. Most of you are too young to remember this, but in 1963, when President John F. Kennedy at his inauguration speech, one thing stuck with me. I think I was a sophomore in high school. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And that always stuck with me. I went to basic training, excuse me, at Lackland Air Force Base and San Antonio. And it's known to anybody from the Air Force as the gateway to the Air Force. It was a 7 to 8 week course. We learned about military protocol, physical fitness. We got stuck in the Army about 1 million times with different shots to prepare us for our service time. From then, I was sent to Amarillo, Texas, Amarillo Air Force Base for a technical school. For 3 months, I attended school there, learned how to work on jet aircraft. After that, I was sent to Luke Air Force Base, which is located just west of Phoenix. And that's a combat crew training wing. So you knew where I was going next. December 1968, I was on my way to Bien Hoa Air Base in Vietnam. It really was tough leaving my wife and my 2-month-old daughter. My job in Vietnam was a crew chief on an F-100 North American fighter bomber. I was, my squadron, which I was very proud of, was the 90th TAC Fighter Squadron. If anybody's interested, you can Google it, and it's got some excellent pictures and history of it. So my job in Vietnam was, I was a crew chief. I was assigned to an airplane. Most of the time I had the same pilot. And my job was to keep this aircraft combat ready at all times. Now we had some planes that were ready to go with fully armed and anything like that. If the Army or the Marines called for an airstrike, they could go in like 10 minutes. And other than that, we just had scheduled sorties, we called them. What was really, I don't know if I should say neat or anything like that, but our planes had cameras on them. You had a camera on the front, a camera on the back. So you get when they go in, they would just let us watch our plane work out. You see them strafing, and if they dropped any bombs, you could see what damage was done. So it was something to see all our hard work, because boy, we did work hard. We worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. I worked nights over there, so I left Vietnam in November, and from there I was stationed at the Air Force Academy, Peterson Field, which is real nice duty after leaving Vietnam. But some of the places that I've traveled to, which I was fortunate enough to do, was Hawaii, Okinawa, Guam, the Philippines, Japan, would fly into Florida occasionally, and California. So that was some of the other planes I worked on. F-100 was one I was trained to work on in Vietnam. When I came back to the States at the Air Force Academy, because we were supported in the Air Force Academy, I worked on T-33s. Then I worked on KC-97s, which is an in-flight refueler. And then the last one that I worked on before I got out of the service was a KC-135. And believe it or not, they're still flying those things today. So that's all I have to say about my service. I appreciate coming here. I recognize a lot of faces. I don't know your names, but appreciate all the support you give the veterans. Thank you.
Thank you for your service, and thank you for telling your story. When you were in Vietnam, and I'm sure other board members and the mayor have something to add as well, were you involved with fixing the planes that came back from combat?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what we do. Refuel them, rearm them, turn them around, and send them up again, you know. So the other thing I didn't say, I know a lot of fellow Vietnam veterans feel the same way. We came back through San Francisco, and it was not a warm welcome, I'll tell you. We were just doing our jobs. So, thank you.
Yeah, I have just a quick question, or even maybe a comment that's directly off that. So I was listening a couple weeks ago to an interview with a Vietnam veteran, and they were talking about the new documentary that came out. Are you familiar with that? The Ken
I've heard
Burns?
about it. I haven't watched it.
Okay, because he was saying that exact thing. Like, he said that he was consulted on it, and that he feels that like everything that has come out about Vietnam since the war ended has been all very politicized, and has, you know, drawn a lot of attention to some of the negative things that you alluded to. But he said that documentary is like the first piece of material that's come out regarding the Vietnam War that actually like gives an objective view and
That's what I
takes-
heard. Yeah, sounds good.
I was just curious if you were.
No, I haven't.
More than anything, thank you for coming in here and sharing your story, and
My pleasure.
most of all, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we still have a couple more comments. I'm sorry, Mike.
Sure.
Just want to say thank you for your service and thank you for being a part of our community.
Thanks.
And when you did come back, as I mentioned, you were instrumental in the creation of the local VFW.
Yes, when
Tell a little bit about that.
my wife and my daughter and I moved back, we had an apartment in Glen Ellen, and then we bought a house at 282 Thunderbird. And some other guys from other VFWs approached me. There had been a VFW in Carroll Stream before that, but it had dissolved. So we rechartered it and started it up. And knock on wood, it's been going strong ever since, you know.
What year was that?
1981, I believe, so going strong. The other thing I'd just like to remind you, there's a couple of veteran holidays coming up here. If you got any Marines in your family or whatever, wish them a happy birthday. November 10th is the Marine Corps birthday. And naturally, November 11th is Veterans Day. The 11th day, the 11th hour, the 11th month, you're supposed to turn east and have a moment of silence. That's all I have.
Thank you very much.
you.
And thank you for your service, and thank you for your leadership and being part of the committee to help bring a new memorial,
It's
a
my
veterans
pleasure.
memorial.
Rick, you've worked so hard on that. The mayor, everybody up here has helped out with fundraisers and stuff. Appreciate it. Please, appreciate all the support we get from the police department, fire department, everybody. It's been great.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.